and the love of the divine that exists in all of us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
All right, I'm delighted to be back here this week with my co-host, Kim Michaels. Today, I'm going to be talking to Kim Michaels, as you know, is our resident expert on spirituality, about evil. Kim, I read a couple of articles on your website about evil. And so the questions that I wanted to deal with today about evil is, well, first of all, does it exist? If it does,
Right.
Should we simply deny it? Should we ignore it? Should we fear it? Or should we face it? And I thought this was an important discussion because to me, it just seems obvious that it exists, but I know so many people on the spiritual path who completely deny its existence. So, Kim, could we start out with sort of a general definition from a spiritual perspective of what evil actually is, so that we're kind of, the audience can be on the same page with us?
Yeah, I mean, that is a difficulty because part of evil, you can argue, is that you define evil, because people always tend to define it as being out there, somebody else is doing evil. And so you start pointing the finger, and that's what sets up all of these conflicts. And that's actually what allows evil to hide. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we can, of course, ignore the fact that there is a force that is not doing what we know is right. Mm-hmm. And it's a very aggressive force. And so I would say that the most general definition is really that there is a force that works against the unity of all people and the unity of all people with their source, with spirit, however you want to define that, whether you want to call it God or Allah or Jehovah, Okay. But we all know that there is something that isn't right.
Yeah, and that's what kind of blows me away with people on the spiritual path. It's like, okay, let's look at the world and look at just war, for example, or poverty or starvation, and the oppression of the many by the few. I don't know what name you want to give it, but that's pretty evil from my perspective. I have traditionally defined evil, I guess, in its polarity as the opposite of good or the opposite of love. But I see evil as anything that does not express, love for all of humanity in its many, many forms. I don't know if that jives with what you just said.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I think that's also a workable definition. But I also think that when you start taking a closer look at evil, you see that part of evil is actually a certain form of thinking which always sets up these two opposing polarities. Mm-hmm. And good and evil is one of those polarities. God and the devil, truth and falsity, all of those things. And then when you use that to then judge that everybody who doesn't agree with us is evil, that's evil.
Yes.
So that's why you have to be a little bit careful of defining, because I actually think that in order to transcend evil, we have to give up even our definition of good.
Yeah. I agree. But I know that that's pretty difficult for the average person who, can only think in duality and can only think in opposites. So could you talk about that, what you just said? Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, and that's why evil is around, because it is pretty difficult. And I understand that there are many people that are, we grow up seeing that there is evil in the world. And then we say, well, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to support that. And then you make an effort to do what you define as good, or what your religion, for example, defines as good. And then you think you've done the right thing. And so it's very, very hard to be told that, no, you have to give up even what you define as good. But that goes back to what I said earlier. We all have an inner sense that there is something that isn't right and something that is right. It's just that we can't define it in such a way that we label other people, and say that they are wrong or they are bad people. or this religion is bad, or this philosophy is bad. That's where we have to be really, really careful.
Yeah, because in that we're in a free will zone, and everyone gets to experiment and learn at their own rate and their own level of learning. I do understand what you're saying about not labeling people that are different from us or learn at a different rate or believe something different, not labeling them as evil, because a lot of people in America have a tendency to do that with Islam, just label it out and out evil, when not everyone in Islam is evil. And, Islam tends to do the same thing with Christianity because of all of the atrocities with Christianity and label it as evil. So it does set up this enmity between two opposing forces that can never really come together. But how do we, in the middle, have this discussion of evil and its actual existence when we say something like that? Do you see how it just kind of almost puts us in that gray area?
It is a very tricky dilemma. It is a very tricky dilemma, because does that then mean you can't say anything? Mm-hmm. And this is where actually what you were saying in the beginning is that many spiritual people don't want to talk about evil and don't want to deal with it. That's the real tragedy, because the spiritual people are actually the ones who have a potential to break new ground, mm-hmm. and to achieve a new approach to evil that we haven't had before. But if they don't want to look at it, if they don't want to wrestle with these difficult questions, then it won't happen. And right. I truly believe that any major change that has happened in history is because the most mature people, the ones who have had the highest level of consciousness, the highest openness, they have been the forerunners. I mean, that's how democracy came in. That's how we abandoned slavery. That's mm-hmm. how we developed environmental awareness, because some people are the forerunners. But that means we have to wrestle with these very delicate questions.
Well, and go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have to find, in my view, a new way to approach evil, where we realize the fallacy of this judgmentalness, which is which we can say this is black and white thinking. Mm-hmm. Something is either completely right or completely wrong, mm-hmm. and our religion or our philosophy is completely right, and anyone that opposes it is wrong. But then we have to not jump into the opposite extreme, which is grace thinking, where we say, mm-hmm. oh, nothing matters, or we can't really say anything. Yeah. Because there are clearly things that are going on the planet that are destructive towards everybody.
Yes.
Or at least the vast majority. Uh-huh. And so that's what we have to find, a new way to talk about it, where we don't label it as evil and we don't judge other people, but where we say these ideas, this kind of behavior, these kind of patterns that we have seen over and over again in history, that's what we have to stop.
Yeah, because, I find that with people that are on a spiritual path, if I even bring up the existence of evil, there's almost this instantaneous, like, oh, it's evil of you to even talk about it. What's wrong with you? Because there's this belief that if you simply talk about the existence of evil, that you're giving it power. And I know that I was taught the same thing as I was branching out of Christianity and into metaphysics, that it only exists if you give it power. Would you consider that another form of denial or kind of gray thinking? That if you just talk about it, you're giving it power?
Yeah, well, again, this is a tricky area. You have this old saying that's very popular in New Age circles: what you resist persists.
Right, exactly.
And that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But that doesn't mean that you can't talk about evil without resisting it.
I agree.
Because you can learn to talk about it in a completely neutral manner. You are not afraid of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where many spiritual people, what they don't really see is that the reason why they are reluctant to talk about it is that they have a fear in themselves that they haven't dealt with.
Yes.
They have just covered it over, and that's a denial. Mm-hmm. Where you say, oh, I don't want to talk about evil, and then it probably won't come and get me.
Right, and
that
I see that
isn't
fear.
going to work on a planetary scale.
And I do see that fear come up in people's eyes, that the minute I say that, okay, because I agree with a couple of articles that I've read on your website. By the way, I want to encourage people to check out AscendedMasterAnswers.com and TranscendenceToolbox.com, because there's just a wealth of articles and tools and information that will help you grow as a spiritual being, that are absolutely free on the website. And Kim, you have such a wealth of books out there that the truth is, in facing the evil that I have dealt with coming out of my last employment, I could not have dealt with it had your books not been available, and had my daughter not found your website. Because trying to talk to other people about it that were on a spiritual path, who were just in complete denial about the existence of evil, when I would say something like, there is a group of real dark forces that are running the college system, and they do not want any light on these campuses, and anyone who is speaking light, representing light, doing good, these dark forces who tend to be at the top will come in and not just attack you, but will seek to destroy you. And that's a fact. I mean, that I've seen happen over and over throughout the years that I was there, with anyone who stood up against the dark forces, that I have no other word for it except evil. Whenever I started to try to talk about it, people would just shut down, look at me like, okay, come on, this is, the new millennium. There is no evil. There are no dark forces. And just trying to get that conversation going is almost impossible. And so I feel very comforted by your work and the courage that you've had to put all of this information out there, knowing that, there are these forces that are totally going to attack it and are totally going to seek to deny it. And yet, it's there, and I'm so grateful for it. So again, I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And they always do this, the forces. They not only will attack the ideas they don't like, but their standard modus operandi is they will attack the person and seek to discredit the person, or get them to be so burdened by their attacks that they simply give up. And I think that's what a lot of spiritual people really don't want to deal with. And I really remember when I was in my early 20s and I started learning more about evil, I was afraid to even read about it. I was simply scared. I was simply scared of reading about it, because I thought that then the devil would come and get me, or the dark forces would come and get me. And it was really only when I realized that there is spiritual protection, and that by invoking, the dark forces can only use lower energies. And they are no match for the higher spiritual energies. So once you learn to invoke these and protect yourself, you don't need to be afraid anymore.
Well, that's the beauty of it.
But I understand that when people have the fear, what are they going to do?
Yeah. So when we come back after commercial break, we'll be talking more about evil, how you can face it and how you can move beyond your fear of it. I'm speaking with my co-host, Kim Michaels. Check out Transcendence Toolbox and AscendedMasterAnswers.com for amazing information. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
Bellawood Flooring has changed its finishing process. So for the first time ever, Lumber Liquidators is clearing out their current stock of Bellawood at unbelievable prices. Get Bellawood Red Oak Solid pre-finished hardwood for an incredible $299 per square foot. That's over 30% off already low prices. Even stunning solid Bellawood Bolivian Rosewood for an amazing 51% off. These are not seconds. This is first quality with a transferable 100-year warranty. So go to LumberLiquidators.com today to find the store nearest you. Special 18-month financing is available, but hurry, these clearance deals end Tuesday.
publicity. And now, another Staples business tip. Getting your company name out there is the best way to get publicity and win new clients.
Banners?
Check.
Business cards?
Got it.
Customized mugs?
In the bag.
Postcards?
Yep.
Lawn signs?
Mm-hmm.
Oversized printouts?
Checkers.
Full-color, double-sided brochures?
Right here.
Photos from last year's Christmas party?
Check. Didn't we delete those?
Why would we? Oh.
We also have shredders. Now get free shipping and up to 5% back in rewards when you sign up for Staples Rewards. Staples, make more happen every day.
If you want to get ahead financially, you've got to do anything you can to save money. But if you're hit with an unexpected car repair bill, you could be facing thousands in expenses. Not anymore. If you own a car, truck, or SUV with less than 150,000 miles, you could stop paying for repairs ever again. I repeat, you may not even pay a penny to have your car repaired ever. Call now to see if you qualify. 1-800-976-7960. You must have a car, truck, or SUV with less than 150,000 miles, and all repair bills can cost you nothing, not even 1 penny. Call now to get your car protected before you're hit with another repair bill. Transmissions cost $2,500. Simple onboard computers, $1,800. But for you, they can cost nothing. Call now to get your car protected. The first 50 callers get free roadside assistance with their total protection. Call now, 1-800-976-7960. That's 1-800-976-7960. 1-800-976-7960.
Are you married? Do you and your husband both have term life insurance? If you both don't, you should. You have a lot to protect. Call now, get a free quote for your husband, and while you're at it, get a quote for yourself too. Because you both need term life insurance. Call now. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542. Rates are at all-time lows. We'll shop over 30 top-rated companies to get you the best possible rates. Term life insurance. It's the perfect way to protect the quality of your family's lifestyle. You and your husband both need term life insurance, so call now for a free quote for the both of you. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542. 800-915-9542.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk. I'm interviewing my co-host, Kim Michaels, who is also our resident expert on spirituality, about the existence of evil. Should we just deny it, ignore it if it does exist, or should we fear it, or should we face it? In the first part of the show, we both acknowledged that evil does exist. And Kim, can we open up this segment with some of the reasons why people choose to ignore the existence of evil? One that we talked about was we've been taught to fear it, and that if we talk about it, we give it power.
Yeah, that's an obvious one. I mean, there's just raw fear. Because so many people, I think it's a general human tendency, that if there's a problem that seems to be so big that we have no defense, we shut down, we go into denial, and we just want to ignore it because otherwise we can't exist psychologically.
Yeah.
And so this is the raw fear. But the other thing, I think, is a sense of being overwhelmed because we don't know what to do about evil. And this is where I think we have to use just plain and simple logic. If we acknowledge that we feel overwhelmed because we don't know what to do about evil, how are we ever going to find out what to do if we don't look?
Yeah, exactly.
It just can't happen, right?
Yeah.
So we have to look if we want to do something about it. Otherwise, of course, we can just let things go the way they have gone.
Yeah,
if we're happy with the way the world is going, then we don't need to do anything.
Yeah, and continue to be in ignorance and denial. But there's still this low-level hum of stress that people are under when they are in denial that is undeniable. And I see that with people that are in denial. It takes a lot of energy to go along pretending like everything is all good when you look at the world and know it's not.
Yeah, and I think that ties into what we talked about earlier. What you resist persists. I've heard so many spiritual people say this. But when you go into denial, you are resisting. Mm-hmm. You are resisting taking a look at something that you intuitively know is there.
Yeah.
And that creates resistance, and it takes energy, psychic energy, and it just wears you out after a while. And I think that's why a lot of people get stressed out, because there's another thing, that I have felt in myself. I know that I'm one of the spiritual people on this planet, mm-hmm. and without putting myself up on a pedestal, I know I'm one of the top 10% that are meant to bring this planet to a higher level of consciousness.
Yes, I agree.
And obviously there are millions of people that are like that. Mm-hmm. But I have acknowledged that, and I think that if you are one of these people and you don't acknowledge it, but you keep denying it, mm-hmm. it will cause you stress on a very deep spiritual level.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I know that I am in that top 10% of spiritual people, and I also know that when you're in that top 10%, it's like you are a sitting duck. It's like, a moth drawn to the flame. People will see your light, and the good will be attracted to you, but the darkness is automatically attracted to you. And that's just a part of the playing field. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Well, absolutely. And that's why if we will be attacked, there's no question about it, because just the fact that you have a potential, even if you're not doing it right now, just the fact that you have potential, there are forces that want you to keep you passive.
Yes.
And so you are under attack, and if you don't know what you're being attacked about, how are you going to defend yourself?
Oh, exactly. And I've been acutely aware of the attacks literally my whole life, because as a child, I've always been this person that was on this mission and on this quest for answers. And I wanted to know the truth about things. And I was always that kid that if an adult was lying, I was interjecting, no, that's not true. Remember, you said this. And I was always in trouble with my parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, because I was always like, no, that's not accurate. And I've learned to be a lot less overt about that now. Mm-hmm. But yes, it has made me a target. And I get it, but it certainly has not shut me up. It has not totally silenced me. We'll be back with more on this discussion of evil after commercial break. What should we do about it, and how can we face it without going into denial? I'm speaking with my co-host, Kim Michaels. Check out his work at AscendedMasterAnswers.com and TranscendenceToolbox.com. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
There's no better way to say I love you. I'm thankful you're in my life. I'm glad to be with you. I'm thinking about you, or I miss you. Done with a spectacular flower arrangement from ProFlowers.com. A gorgeous fresh flower arrangement is a must to dress up every birthday, holiday, or anniversary. As a special treat for you, your beautiful flowers start at an amazing low price of $19.99. And ProFlowers.com will include a free vase with floral orders. Imagine a beautiful bouquet of 100 blooms for only $19.99, with a free vase included. Every festive bouquet is guaranteed to last at least 7 days. Tell your loved ones you're thinking of them with flowers. Go to ProFlowers.com/radio and enter your code to receive this special offer. Enter code DAISY. That's ProFlowers.com/radio, code DAISY. Send a bouquet they'll never forget from ProFlowers.com/radio, code DAISY.
Who did you let down today? Your wife? Your kids? Well, how about yourself? Take a look in the mirror. If you're tired of your drug and alcohol problem, you need to fix the problem, and right now, before you hurt or kill yourself, or worse yet, somebody else. Call the addiction specialist now at the Detox and Treatment Helpline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you have private insurance, we specialize in finding you the right treatment. When you call right now, you'll speak to a recovering addict who understands what you're going through right now. Let us help you break your addiction to drug and alcohol before it's too late. This call is completely confidential and free. So if you have private insurance, take 5 minutes of your time. Call right now. I promise it'll change your life. 800-881-1672. 800-881-1672. 800-881-1672. Call right now. 800-881-1672.
Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 888-465-9720. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 888-465-9720. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance, and you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free in-home consultation at 888-465-9720. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all areas. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 888-465-9720. 888-465-9720. Call Sears now and get that roof repaired. Call 888-465-9720.
Hi, this is Fred Dreyer. FanDuel.com is the leader in one-week fantasy football leagues for real money with immediate cash payouts. Entry fees start at just $1. No season-long commitment, no upfront fees. Play each week or whenever you want. FanDuel is paying out more than $10 million every single week this NFL season. But you have to play to win, so sign up today. Go to FanDuel.com and click on the microphone in the upper right-hand corner. Use my code DRYER and sign up now. That's FanDuel.com, code word DRYER.
Are you concerned about the effect bug repellent chemicals have on your family's health? Now there's Cedarside, an organic bug spray. Cedarside carries a suite of pest control products made from all-natural cedar oil. They kill and repel a variety of bugs, yet they're not at all harmful to people, pets, or the environment. To order, go to Cedarside.com or call 800-842-1464. 800-842-1464. Cedarside, effective pest control that's safe for people, pets, and premises.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and I'm interviewing my co-host, Kim Michaels, about a couple of articles on his websites relating to evil and how people who consider themselves on a spiritual path should deal with the existence and the presence of evil. Kim, we already talked about denying it and ignoring it and fearing it, but now let's focus in this last half hour on how we can face it and some of the tools that you have available, which I can attest to how powerful they are because I use them every single day, and I can tell you for a fact that if I get up and I try to go out, rush out just one day without, putting on my cloak of spiritual protection, everything you can think of hits me, and I'm in such a I get so psychically drained and so physically drained behind it that it's really, really hard for me to function. And I can say that with that same dark group over at the campus that I left, and I literally have not stepped foot back on that campus since I left because the energy is so heavy and so dark and so evil over there. And students have called me and told me the same thing. They've said, oh my God, Dr. Grant, since you're not there, the lights have simply gone out, and there's just this presence that is palpable when you're there. But I can say that the psychic projections do exist, and that they have been sent at me and continue to be sent at me nonstop. And there are people over there who've actually written complaints about seeing groups of them, the leaders over there, casting spells and incantations on different faculty members that they don't like. And I can attest to the fact that one of the people that I worked very, very closely with, she was continually wishing people were dead. She was just continually saying that anybody that, remotely, didn't do whatever she wanted, she would say, I wish that person would just drop dead. And it was just very, disturbing being around that. It's like, oh my God, let me not do anything for real to you. But people do, that's what I want to talk about, the fact that there are people who do not wish you well, and they do send psychic projections that are aimed at harming you. And I didn't find it on my own. I was talking to one of the women via Skype that I met at your conference in Australia, and I was telling her what was happening to me right after I met you. And she said, oh, there's an invocation on his website that will protect you from psychic projections. And she sent it to me.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, thank you. This is exactly what I needed. And even though it's a really, really long invocation and it's very, very thorough, it was like every single one on there so related to me that I just kind of jumped for joy, as I was speaking them out loud. Mm-hmm. And they made me feel so protected and so relieved that I can't recommend that invocation enough for people who feel the energy of hate and ill will being directed at you from family members, from people that you think are friends, from coworkers. And people feel it and they know it and they say it, but even though there is still a certain amount of denial, but I can say that having just that one tool, Kim, has been such a source of comfort and empowerment for me. And I used that one for 2 years straight. And then when I came upon, what's the name of the book? It's Songs in the River of Life, or songs, that have to do with...
The Song of Life.
Yeah, the Song of Life book. And those 4...
Song of Life Healing Matrix.
Yeah, the Song of Life Healing Matrix. Okay, when I came across that book, and then there are 4 invocations that help you get rid of the death consciousness. The one that I do every day without fail is...
Oh, no, that you're talking about another book called Flowing with the River of Life.
That's the one, Flowing with the River of Life. And the second one on there is Freedom from Aggressive Spirits. Wow. It's like I wake up with that one and I go to bed with that one, because when I'm starting to feel like overwhelmed by the negative energy of other people, and sometimes I can just be in an environment, or a family member can come by and they're extremely negative, and I feel that energy on me and I just feel oppressed by it. I just put it on because I have the recording. And, I listened to what you told me on the show one time. Even if I was too tired at night, to say it, I would just turn it on and listen to it. And the energy just, becomes peaceful and calm. So I cannot recommend that enough. So what's the name of that book that it came out of again?
Flowing with the River of Life.
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 Yeah.
Wow, that's some powerful stuff. And the...
But there's also a workbook, actually, for that book, and that's probably where the invocations are, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I got the whole thing.
But it's very true, as you say, you kind of need to... It's almost like when you realize that you can protect yourself, it's such a relief, because even if you were ignoring it before, you were still being attacked by it.
Oh, yeah.
And you were still feeling it.
Yeah.
And so when you realize that there is something you can do, it's like you feel really like,
yes,
that's what I've been waiting for,
Yes. And the funny thing is, I ended up getting the iPod that has the largest memory that they have. It looks like an iPhone, so that I could have all of your invocations on there. all of your
Right.
ebooks on there. So because you have a lot of stuff that is MP3 that I can just listen to over and over
Yeah.
and over, and it just comforts me and it soothes my spirit. And like listening to these dictations over and over, they have such a high vibration to them that there's some of them, like the ones from the River of Life Matrix, that I've been listening to now for a couple of years, and every time I listen to them, it's like I never heard them before, because I guess I'm growing in consciousness, and I finally get something, and I go, whoa, okay, that's really, really deep. So I find that having an iPod, and when I'm just walking the dog, or even doing anything, when I'm doing dishes or making my shake in the morning, I have that on. And when I have my earphones on, I don't have to disturb anybody. But when I'm by myself, I can just turn it on and listen to it as I'm walking around the house, and I can get a lot done. And with the invocations, I can actually say them along with you while I'm doing other things, because otherwise it just kind of gets overwhelming, the amount of time that you have to put into it. So I just wanted to say to people that you can actually do these while you're doing other things, rather than trying to get other things done and then making time for your spiritual practice. It's very, very important. I found that you put your spiritual practice first and then work everything else around that. And that's the only way I can get it done.
Yeah, and that's a very, very good testament, because it is hard for people to find time. And the ego, of course, is the master of coming up with excuses of why you shouldn't do something that you don't normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this in myself. I've seen it in many other people. There's just no end to the excuses that can come up. And you can't wait until the ideal conditions are there, because they're never going to be there. You're going to have to jump in and say, now I'm going to start. I'm going to do something different now.
Yeah.
And but I understand that is a difficult phase, because usually when people have been in denial, even though they are burdened by the dark forces and the negative energy, they have sort of learned to live with it.
Yeah.
And so then when you start looking at it, you go through a phase where you can easily feel overwhelmed, because now you see so much you didn't see before, and you feel it's too much. And it's almost like you have to go through this turbulent period before you have enough of a momentum on invoking the light and really recognizing the projections that come at you. Then you start feeling calm again.
Yeah.
Because then it's like you work through the worst of it, and then you get to that where now you are more, it's almost like you're riding the wave, like a surfer. But how are you ever going to get up on the wave if you don't paddle through it? You know?
And I've also found, Kim, that it's a matter of finding exactly the right invocation for what you're going through at that particular time. Because even though I was doing the Archangel Michael invocation for protection, and it's that long one is very, very thorough, somehow because of the severity of the attacks that I was under, and there were so many of them in that group over at the school that were literally meeting and conferring, about how to get rid of me, I needed more than just that, and that psychic protection, the freedom from psychic projections was exactly what I needed at that time. But what was really interesting with the iPod, and I don't know if other people find this as well, but my iPod will just randomly go to the one that I need, even when I don't have it on shuffle. I'll specifically choose one, and it's supposed to be going in order with the next one, and the next thing I know, it'll pop to something random. And at first I was going, what is wrong with this iPod? And then I'd be, redirecting it back to where I wanted it to go. And then when I started listening to what would pop up, I went, oh my goodness, it's just randomly taking me where I need to go. So I do recommend that if your iPod does that, to let it kind of go with it, because it's perfect when it happens to me now. I don't get irritated with my iPod anymore.
Well, I think a lot of people will find that. I mean, not necessarily with an iPod, but if you are open and if you kind of ask for direction, it's amazing how you can be led to a book or an invocation or whatever it is that you need. And then all of a sudden you realize that you could never have discovered this with your conscious mind.
At all.
But when you trust the higher guidance, you get it.
Yeah, and there is so much truth in ask and it is given, because I always love to tell the story of my daughter finding your website. And I had asked, I had finished reading this like 1,000-page collection of, the Bridge to Freedom and Summit Lighthouse collection of dictations from the, I think it was I Am, or Patricia Cota Robles had put it out. And I wanted more because it all ended like in the 80s somewhere. And I was like searching and going, come on, there's got to be somebody else who's doing this work, and has updated it. And I couldn't find a thing. Right. And just when I had given up, my daughter called me at 2 o'clock in the morning because she writes songs, and I'm used to her waking me up, saying, Mom, can you help me with this verse? I'm stuck. I'm in the studio. and I figured that's what she was doing. And here it was like 2-something in the morning. She said, Mom, I found this website, and it is so deep. You've got to hear. You've got to hear this article that I just read. And so the first thing I asked for was what was the name of the website, and she said, oh, it's called Ask Real Jesus. And I said, oh my goodness, no, I don't want to hear that. I'm sure that's some born again fundamentalist Christian thing. No, I'm going back to sleep. And she said, no, Mom, come on, just listen. And I said, okay, because she has always been sort of like my little spiritual teacher. She will find books and stuff for me. And she read this article to me, and I popped up. I had to get up early in the morning. I popped up and I listened, and I said, what was that website again? Text it to me. And she texted it to me, and Kim, every day I was on that website for a year before I went to your conference. I couldn't wait to get home, just reading and reading and reading articles that were on there that just like answered exactly what I had asked for. So I'm a real testament to ask and it is given, because every single thing or question that I ask for, it does come to me, usually in the form of a book, but it could be a song, or I will meet someone. And now I'm kind of being led to go this place and go that place. And, like with Dr. Gabor's work, I think that what he's doing with this energy bioregulation therapy is the next level for people on the spiritual path who are being drained, who are being physically drained. And I'm finding that using his technology along with the invocations, I'm getting much more rapid results. And it's really, really helping me health-wise to have hope and to get back to equilibrium. I'm not there yet, but I am so much better than I was that, Crystal says, oh my God, I'm getting my mother back. Because I wasn't recognizable, honestly. So
yeah, and that's what happens when we are under these kind of attacks. It's very natural and very understandable. But as you have just said, there is something we can do, and that's the wonderful thing about it. We just have to find the right tool, and that's where I think if we really ask and if we are open to receiving something that we hadn't thought about before. Because if you have a closed mind and you want the answer to fit into your mental box, then you're not really open, and then you're not going to receive what you ask for.
Right. And I'm not saying that my ego doesn't try to talk me out of, doing these invocations and the discipline. I mean, every day my ego's talking noise and trying to get me to procrastinate, but I know better by now. So I do want to recommend that everyone check out Transcendence Toolbox and Ascended MasterAnswers.com and all the other websites that Kim Michaels has put together for people on the spiritual path. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and I am interviewing my co-host, Kim Michaels.
Attention, if you've had hip replacement surgery and suffered any complications, you need to listen to this important legal alert. Major manufacturers have made billions of dollars available to award legal claims for defective hip implants. Thousands of these defective hip implants have been recalled by various manufacturers. If you've had hip surgery and suffered complications, you may be entitled to receive significant compensation to help you deal with your complications. You may be eligible to receive money to help with medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Protect yourself by hiring an experienced trial attorney. Our partner law firms are experts in hip replacement surgery lawsuits. Find out now if you're eligible to receive any of the $2.5 billion HIP settlement fund. Call now for free information.
855-586-1561. 855-586-1561. 855-586-1561. That's 855-586-1561.
As a small business owner, there's one word that you absolutely dread: payroll. For small businesses, it's a big burden. You may think you're saving time and money doing it yourself. But come on, are you? Timesheets, processing checks, calculating taxes, a total waste of your time. Paychex simplifies payroll processing, saving you time and money. Submit your payroll online, fax it in, or call your dedicated Paychex payroll specialist. And you're done. Learn more at trypaychex.com. Come on, do the math. The IRS dishes out 8 million penalties a year. Make one mistake and you're on the hook. On average, you're losing nearly one business day every month doing payroll. That's time and money you'll never get back, unless you get Paychex. More than 500,000 small businesses already do. Call 888-578-5378. Trade payroll pressure for peace of mind. Call now. 888-578-5378. That's 888-578-5378.
If you want to get ahead financially, you've got to do anything you can to save money. But if you're hit with an unexpected car repair bill, you could be facing thousands in expenses. Not anymore. If you own a car, truck, or SUV with less than 150,000 miles, you could stop paying for repairs ever again. I repeat, you may not even pay a penny to have your car repaired ever. Call now to see if you qualify. 1-800-976-7960. You must have a car, truck, or SUV with less than 150,000 miles, and all repair bills can cost you nothing, not even one penny. Call now to get your car protected before you're hit with another repair bill. Transmissions cost $2,500. Simple onboard computers, $1,800. But for you, they can cost nothing. Call now to get your car protected. The first 50 callers get free roadside assistance with their total protection. Call now, 1-800-976-7960. That's 1-800-976-7960. 1-800-976-7960.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk, wrapping up this discussion on evil with my co-host Kim Michaels from TranscendenceToolbox.com and AscendedMasterAnswers.com. So Kim, what I've learned is that if you're on a spiritual path, you cannot progress until you face your fear of evil and acknowledge that it does exist, and then work on reclaiming your power over it by using spiritual tools that can protect you from negative psychic forces. Because, well, actually, why don't I let you explain why you really can't grow spiritually if you continue to deny or fear evil?
Well, you can grow up to a certain point.
Yes.
But then after that point, you cannot grow, because if you're denying something, you are not, it owns you. Yes. I mean, whatever you cannot look at, whatever you cannot overcome, it will own you. And I mean, the Buddha talked about the most important thing on the path is non-attachment. Mm-hmm. Jesus talked about it in a slightly different way, but all spiritual masters have said this. There can't be anything on earth that owns us, that has a hold on us, that we are afraid to look at. And the only way to get beyond it is to look straight at it and walk right through it, because you can't keep walking around it. You will not progress past that initiation on the path until you look at it.
Well, and I was just thinking, even Buddha had to face the demons of Mara, and he had to conquer his fear of them. And Jesus in the desert was tempted by the devil, and he had to face his fear of it. So I was thinking, who do we think we are that we don't have to pass that initiation? And perhaps maybe that denial of evil, Kim, is a one way of trying to skip that initiation because it is so unpleasant. I can attest to that.
Yes, I think it is. But still, even though it is unpleasant to go through it, once you go through it, you have a much, much deeper freedom that you had before you were afraid to look. Because if you're really brutally honest with yourself, you know that if you haven't looked at it, there is a tension deep within you. There is a fear. There is something that is just pulling on you all the time. And if you are really a serious spiritual student, you have to realize there will come a point where you need to look at this. It's just an initiation on this planet.
Mm-hmm. And an important one, because I think that that's where our real power and our true liberation lies, is on the other side of conquering that fear of evil. So I would encourage everyone to go to your website and also your bookstore. What's the website for the bookstore, Kim?
Morepublished.com.
Morepublished.com. Morepublished.com. And pick up as many tools as you can to empower yourself as a spiritual being so that you can continually self-transcend and go as far as you can in this lifetime on the spiritual path and not be troubled by evil and the dark forces, or actually not be stopped. Kim, thank you so much for the work that you do and for joining us each week on Divine Love Talk. We will be back next week with more of Kim Michael's work. We're going to be talking about how you can not drink your own Kool-Aid. All right. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant on Divine Love Talk.